HubSpot ran a really cool research study where they saw that they had an increase. So already insane ROI for email. They had a 791% increase in ROI from email from one thing, which is people who segmented their lists got way higher returns on email, which should be somewhat unsurprising, right? Like if you send the right emails to the right people, then they will be more likely to buy your stuff. So if I send a beginner email to a list of advanced people, they'll be like, this is not for me. And to the same degree, and also it doesn't have anything to do with the email, it just might not be right for them. And to the same degree, if I send an advanced thing to people who don't have a business or want to start a business, then they're gonna be like, this doesn't apply. And so it's way less about how good the email is and so much more about who's getting it.
This is great advice for certain companies and absolutely terrible advice for others. I often audit accounts that are missing out on up to 70% of the revenue that they should be driving because they're following this exact advice. Simply put, if you run a company with a highly fragmented customer base, Alex's advice will work for you. So an example here of what Alex is referring to can be a company that sells men's clothes and women's clothes. If you send an email showcasing new women's clothing to your customers who you know buy men's clothing, of course, almost none of those customers are going to buy. But what about a company that sells men's clothing, women's clothing, and home furniture? What most companies will do in this example by following Alex's advice is create hyper segments to decide who to send those furniture emails to based on either a minimal set of data that they have, or more often their own internal beliefs and biases on who is likely to buy furniture. So for an email campaign selling furniture, what they're gonna do often is create a segment for anyone who has spent something like over $300 on women's clothing, or spent over $500 on men's clothing, or has visited a furniture prog page on their website in the last 30 days, and that's who's gonna get the email. While this may seem smart, all it's really doing is massively reducing the amount of people that are going to receive this email for no good reason. If that brand has 100,000 email subscribers in their database, it's very likely that that segment I just described would probably only have 10,000 subscribers. But does the fact that someone has only spent $100 on clothing, or maybe never bought clothing before, mean that they're not a qualified prospect for the furniture that's being sold in the email? Of course not. So ultimately, you can't try and guess who's going to be in market for the products you're selling in any given email if there's even a 1% chance that they might be interested in that product. So if you're a company in this situation, you should limit your segmentation to engagement criteria for the most part. Now, we've seen similar results to that 791% increase in revenue that Alex mentioned, but it actually comes more often from making the segment definitions broader, not making them tighter. At my agency Dispatch, our segmentation strategy in one sentence is to send to as broad an audience as possible while keeping our deliverability healthy, and then using dynamic content to personalize our emails for different customer groups.